Hey everyone, welcome to Strange Stories, where we explore near-death experiences and supernatural stories from people who've had a glimpse of the other side. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Without further ado, let's get to the story of the day. 3rd of May, 1969. My platoon was pulling out as the dry season came to an end. Our mission was straightforward: drive down the road, display the flag, and ensure that we still had the right of way. The two slowly moving trucks, armored personnel carriers in front of mine, were already kicking up dust clouds in the pulverized dirt road. Lady, the platoon mascot, trotted alongside, her tail wagging. She no longer accompanied us after a mine blew up the truck she was riding on. As we passed through the base camp gate and picked up speed, I swapped my cloth hat for a helmet, put on my wire-rimmed sunglasses, and half-cocked the .50 caliber machine gun. Lady came to a halt a few feet beyond the gate and stood there watching us walk away. Our Ford trucks quickly reached a monotonous but comfortable 40 miles per hour, creating a welcome breeze. A gridwork of rice paddy dikes divides the land into tidy rectangles of varying sizes on either side of the road for miles. The pale yellow stubble of last season's crop failed to conceal the earth in the fields. The clay soil of the paddies had dried into flagstone-sized blocks, separated by inch-wide cracks. Despite the fact that the land was flat, the fields did not extend far into the distance, and instead abruptly ended at the ubiquitous wood line. This wood was 20 to 30 feet tall and made of thick, lush green nipa palm. It grew where the delta distributaries were, and they were everywhere, like a root system. We controlled the larger towns and villages, the roads, the skies, the major waterways, and the rice paddies. Charlie owned the wood line. The column began to approach one of the spots where the dreaded jungle wall squeezed in on the road from both sides, diesel engines roaring and trailing a huge, mile-long cloud of dust. I began to pay closer attention to the wood line instinctively. A large anti-tank mine detonated on command 8 feet directly beneath my little old lily-white behind. I knew what was going on right away because my truck had been blown up just 3 weeks before, and thought to myself, oh crap, here we go again. I was catapulted upward along with everyone and everything else. People, dust, weapons, ammunition, helmets, and C-ration boxes formed an expanding inverted cone around me. External time slowed as we progressed upward. The rotation rates of all the objects around me rapidly decreased, an obvious violation of the law of conservation of angular momentum. I was fascinated by my comrades' bodies' unnatural, ever-slowing gyrations and wondered, is this the end? Are we all dead? At the apex of my trajectory, time stopped completely and an inexplicable calm descended. The state of consciousness that prevailed at the time was as close to normal waking as normal waking is to a dream. Whatever it was peaceful, omnipresent, both in time and space, omniscient, and absorbed everything into an indivisible whole. The entire universe, past, present, and future, has collapsed into a single point on which everything depends for survival. That is constraint. It is the light of pure consciousness that illuminates everything. It is the ultimate meaning of the cryptic Bible passage, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. It is the great nothing because it includes everything, and thus it is not a thing. That is how it becomes the all-encompassing. Furthermore, there was, and still is, no doubt about its authenticity. Any more than one would doubt after waking up from a dream that the waking state is real, and the dream was just a dream. In short, God himself took over my reins in the sense that I no longer existed as a distinct entity. Only he exists. There was an overwhelming sense of bliss, love, and compassion, as well as a foggy sense of déjà vu. The realization that everything's true home and true self had been miraculously revealed. My life up to that point was reviewed in great detail, not in chronological order, but all at once, with some events being emphasized more strongly than others. Following that, I was given the opportunity to be aware of anything I wanted to be aware of, with the understanding that time was not a factor. Indeed, there was all the time in the world. I proceeded to focus on this or that aspect of my life and concluded that there wasn't too much to be ashamed of. Actually, I made terrible use of this gift, but I was just a naive 22-year-old with a skewed perception of relative importance. I could see a 360-degree panorama of the road, the wood lines on either side, and my platoon's other 3 trucks, 2 in front and 1 behind us. The entire episode seemed to take place in my head, but I wasn't sure if my head was still connected to the rest of my body. Under the circumstances, this didn't seem important one way or the other. In other words, I didn't care if my life was going to be cut short in the next few seconds. I was then informed gently but unequivocally that I would survive the explosion without serious injury and would even make it out of Vietnam alive. So selfishly, I turned my attention to the immediate situation and reasoned that I should 1. Stay conscious so that I didn't drown in 2 inches of rice paddy water. 2. Stay loose so that I broke as few bones as possible. And 3. Roll away from the truck so that it didn't crush me to death if it tipped over. Time began to rush back in only after my mind had run out of things to decide on. The transcendental state of consciousness came to an end, and I returned to my normal waking state. I could see the ground about 20 feet below and started falling towards it. I was left with a strong sense of awe and well-being. Since then, I've been convinced with a certainty that predates my own that 2 plus 2 equals 4. That God is present for me. It is no longer a matter of faith or belief, but of certainty because I've seen Him as He is. It was a pleasant surprise, however, to discover that He's loving, compassionate, and forgiving, qualities for which I had previously not made adequate allowances. I will always be grateful to Him for reaching down and picking me up in the palm of His hand at that precise moment. In fact, writing this 36 years later still brings tears to my eyes. Also, I no longer fear death. Pain and suffering, yes, but not death itself, because this raindrop, by His grace, recalls the ocean from which it came. Unfortunately, the experience of this state is up to God and not down to us, but take my word for it. It is always here, and now a lot closer than you think. Nothing, before or since, has come close to being as real and profound as the state of consciousness that I have feebly attempted to describe. However, my recollection of it has been sufficient to console and comfort me through the vicissitudes of life, particularly during difficult times. Sorry, but I haven't noticed any paranormal, psychic, or supernatural abilities in myself. Just a firm belief in the existence of something spiritual. Please let me know if you ever come across a surefire method for reawakening this state within me without blowing me up. May God accompany you. He will, of course, but it's a nice thought.